It's there every day, it is heavy, and it never leaves. I have tried almost everything, and well, I do not know how to go on anymore with this. It is not like I am going to just quit. I just don't have the motivation to carry on. The hole is always going to be there, and I am super afraid that it is pulling me in. Story 1. Man, this will probably get buried or ignored, but I have to try. I felt that way for over 10 years. I had no idea what it was, just accepted it as the anxieties life brings. Then finally, it just got to be too much for me. I was sick of being the guy who was trying to keep it together while it all fell apart. I started waking up earlier, working out, eating healthier. All of that made a decent difference. But while I worked out, I thought hard about why I wasn't happy. Pretty much stemmed from me knowing I could be doing better in life. I come from a family of I'll do it later kind of people, and that's how I was treating my future. As silly as it sounds, I wrote out my goals: financial, health, spiritual. And now I make an enormous effort to ensure I'm closer to becoming the guy I want to be, and it's helping a lot. Story 2. I found that spray foam insulation helps, but you have to trim off the excess and then use drywall spackle before you paint over it. I know, my jokes aren't funny. For reasons I am not going to explain because no one ever understands, I have endured 42 years of misery, and at my current age I feel like I'm just going through the motions by rote, not because I want to but because I have to. Some days are better than others. This week has been a total train wreck, but I keep going, sometimes not even knowing why or what unseen force is urging me onwards, even when it seems hopeless. I'm sorry that wasn't groundbreaking or amazingly profound. I really do want to help you out, but I'm just terrible at being poetic. Story 3. First and foremost, identify the source of this emptiness you feel. Maybe it's something you can fix directly, maybe it's not. If this feeling affects you too much, there's nothing to be ashamed of, but it is a sign that you need a professional to talk to. I personally keep my spirits high with my hobbies. I play Dungeons and Dragons, and developing that world a bit more is always a good distraction from some less fun parts of life. Story 4. Heavy sigh. My kids. I separated when they were babies, 1 and 3. I thought life was over. The struggle was real. 25 years later, and I wouldn't have changed a thing. I just woke up one morning and filled that hole with responsibility and love. We did everything together, and I think I did something right because they're grown and have their own place, but we still get together at least twice a week. Yeah, my kids filled that hole. Story 5. Wife, child, and pets. The things I live for. Besides that, I mostly smoke marijuana, play video games, and spend time alone. Spending time with friends helps too. Story 6. Find someone to help. Go volunteer at an organization that you think does good work. You'll become part of a network that way, make friends, and nothing makes you feel good like helping other people. Story 7. I remind myself that every moment I'm still alive, I can strive to start anew or repair anything. Taking action is key. It's the absolute hardest part and it's not immediately effective. But once you start, you become distracted from what ails you. Over time, as long as you keep trying and building, it eventually amounts to something which is better than nothing and better than where you were. Story 8. I felt the same too. I never believed in therapy before, but then I tried it, and it has helped so much. It helped me uncover my traumas and understand my inner child self that needed to be unraveled. Try it. Story 9. Sadly, you have to make your own joy where you can find it. There might be a day where the struggles of men matter and we are more than just something that has to measure up, but today is not that day. I feel you, bud. Story 10. A therapist once told me that in order for us to be happy and fulfilled in life, Buddhists say we need 3 things: something to love, something to hope for, and something to do. Story 11. I go hiking. I just walk 20 miles in the woods every Saturday, and each week I look forward to walking 20 miles to a different spot in the woods. Maybe sometime soon I shall walk 20 miles in the woods, camp, and walk another 20 the next day for a few weeks. Keeps me going. Story 12. Typically with my motorcycle and baking. My kids are also a huge help while they're home. But when I'm home alone, I start wandering around in my head. Therapy also helped for a while, but life got in the way and it's not cheap. Story 13. The hole is addiction. You keep wanting to fill it with dopamine releases. Heal your nervous system. Get out of fight or flight mode. Learn how to bring peace to your life. That hole starts to fill with self-love. Sorry if it sounds cheesy. It's what helps me. Story 14. Had that hole in me for years. Tried the alcohol route, tried meth to numb the feeling of falling in. Got to the point in my late 20s where it went from trying to fill it to just pure emptiness covered in mindless anger and rage. I didn't feel sad, depressed, anything, just empty anger. And when anything was supposed to make me feel or whatever, it would send throbbing rage into my brain. I used to go for jogs. A lot of people have brought up therapy and learning stuff, which I think are really good outlets. I grew up in the barrio, so there weren't any therapists, and there wasn't any allowance for being sad or depressed. My brother didn't allow me to feel happy or be excited as a kid. That's along with a few traumatic things that happened, which I feel triggered mine. I remember when I started to heal, though, basically, a big thing for me was all those things I went through, even the empty anger and rage stage. I was too scared to be around people because I always had thoughts of losing it on someone. And I remember I got mad at myself for allowing myself to give in to myself. Basically, I took myself to Walmart. No money, no nothing. And just walked around the store looking at stuff. I had never done that before in my life. It wasn't until maybe a good while later that I realized what I had accomplished. It was the first step of recovery for me. Now I have a good job. At least for me. Feel normal. Still broken, and normal people will say I'm abnormal, but forget them. I've come a long way. Sorry this post is all over the place. It's hard for me to stay on track with this part of my life, but it does get better. There are outlets and things you can do. The main thing is to take that first step in a direction. And if it doesn't work, find another path to take another step. Keep it moving. And the same way you haven't given up or given in, use that. By the way, proud of you for reaching out. This is something I would have never been able to do. Story 15. I do not. I have learned to live with it. My kids certainly made it much, much smaller, but even before them, I learned how to function while feeling like I was not whole. Eventually, the whole becomes a part of you, and one day you will have this liberating feeling that you are not incomplete. You just do not fit a mold. Story 16. The hole in my chest isn't massive. It's only 9 millimeters, and it's been a few years since the incident, so it's closed up now. Seriously though, I fill it with knowledge and activities. I read, I learn about things I'm passionate about, I think about science fiction, and marvel at the technology that used to be science fiction and is now reality. Nature walks, the gym, playing Dungeons and Dragons, cooking, fixing things, taking care of my kid, and when I'm lucky, sex and cuddles with beautiful women. When you've almost, or should have, died as many times as me, you start to take pleasure in the smallest things. I like little luxuries like fancy coffee, cigars, really good whiskey, a silly t-shirt, a pretty bird or cool-looking plant, an interesting bug, whatever you can appreciate the beauty of. Story 17. As someone with pectus excavatum, this question was initially very intriguing. As someone with a literal hole in my chest, you have to find ways to be resilient through all of life's ups and downs. I find being helpful to others gives me life satisfaction and helps fill that giant hole. Story 18. Fill it with an arc reactor I made in the basement of my mansion while alone. In all seriousness, I've been there. Fill the hole with love, hobbies, and find a passion. Even if that passion changes every few months, be passionate about something. Focus. Story 19. Not to sound brash, but I go into the hole. I've gone into the hole. I can only play out so many scenarios in my head before I realize they're all fake. None of them are happening to me. Sometimes what's happening is very simple to define. Just have to work towards figuring it out. Then I walk outside, listen to the birds chirp, light up a cigarette, and be on my merry way. I should say that I understand everybody's situation is different, and I know it's crazy to think about, but we're still alive, and that matters to someone or something. To who or what, I for sure do not know, but it's got to count for something. Story 20. You fill your time with finding passions that you can follow and stick with. Find that person who is your rock, who will keep you grounded, and work towards a life the two of you are happy with. Building things with my hands and having my garden are two of the biggest things for me. Watching my plants grow and live fascinates me, and seeing whatever I have built come into being brings a lot of satisfaction as the progress goes by. Story 21. Love. You fill that hole with love. You find someone or something you feel safe loving, and you let yourself love openly and freely. If you feel the edges of the emptiness, go out and do something good for someone. If you cannot find anyone, do something good for yourself. It can be as simple as setting up a bird feeder, helping your neighbor with the trash, or playing your guitar. Every little bit helps to push the darkness back. The light we bring into the world is what fills that darkness, both in ourselves and in others. The more you allow yourself to give to the world, the more it will give back. And even if it is not a fair trade in your favor, your heart will be full. Story 22. For me, it's God. Islam, I see, provides all the answers to the most pertinent questions. It also provides a level of contentment that makes Muslims have the lowest suicide rate of all religions. Story 23. Find someone who needs help and help them. You will get genuine gratitude, appreciation, and compliments. I have no musical ability, but my wife plays the cello. She found a community orchestra near us after the kids went off to college and came home one day talking about how they had trouble putting together the risers for the choir. The next time I went with her, I figured out what they were doing wrong and put the risers together. Then someone asked for my help with something else, and I fixed that too. One of the musicians said to me that there's nothing better than a man who can fix things, and I saw my wife looking at me with a kind of admiration that made me feel pretty good. I work in information technology, so I help with computer stuff and redid the website. I have no musical ability like at all, but I'm listed in the program for every concert they put on. They ask me to come every week. The conductor said, "I don't know what we'd do if you weren't here." Hearing that really makes me feel great. There's a community theater near you, and they need help painting sets or carpentry or something. Go join and help out. There's a place near you that teaches English as a second language. Go there and help some new immigrants learn their way around the country. There's a place near you that teaches reading to adults who were failed by the school system. Go teach someone how to read. Go help someone who needs help. See if you don't feel a lot better afterwards. Story 24. The problem is you're chasing the answer, but the answer is the journey itself. We are conditioned to think we have to achieve things or fix things. You don't achieve happiness. You just enjoy and cherish each moment you are in. Be present. That is happiness, just living. Story 25. First, I found God. Then I found a wife. Then I found my career path. Then I found meaningful volunteer work. Then I had children. Now I'm looking for balance. But if I can find that and I can accomplish the things I want, I think I'll look back and be pretty pleased. Story 26. Last year I filled it with walking a lot and working out. This year I have a hard time with all that, but hope to get back to it. In the meantime, I am really just trying to hack away at all these projects I have stacked up and cleaning my plate as they weigh me down and make me not want to do much. I just have to pick one thing to clear and focus on it, and I will get there eventually. Then it's back to regular exercise and hoping to include a lot of music making and piano lessons in there. Story 27. Writing music. Socializing and making good friends that I can confide in. Exercising. Living a healthy and balanced lifestyle and making sure I have time and means to do things that I enjoy. Also, looking for reasons to be happy, rather than having a cynical view on everything. Story 28. Try and stay with the feeling of that hole. Acknowledge that existence. Stay more with your thoughts. Eventually, you will find a reason and keep going at life full force. Respect, brother. Story 29. For me, it was acceptance. What really bothered me was the fact that I didn't have a wife and kids despite putting in effort. I even bought a house thinking it would improve my chances, but it didn't. I turned to alcohol for a few years of my life that I won't get back. Thankfully, I didn't get into any trouble except for laying down my motorcycle and it being totaled. I had to accept that my life was going to be different than I wanted, that I wouldn't have a wife or kids. When I turned 30, I stopped drinking mostly and cut out most sugar because I didn't want to become diabetic. I'm 33 now, and I still get lonely at times, but I am overall happier and only drink a few times a year. I also buy things and enjoy immersing myself in hobbies, buying and selling things. It's a nice distraction. I have another 4.5 years until my house is paid off, and I'm 100% debt-free. Then it's smooth sailing to retirement. Story 30. Booze for a while. When that stops working, get some therapy to get everything straight. Also, pick some achievable but increasingly challenging goals and achieve them. Eventually, all this work you do on yourself will build your confidence, and you'll attract a partner with whom you fall in love and build a life. Maintain the big picture while taking small steps. Story 31. You need to find something that makes you feel good about yourself. The one tried and true method is sticking with a gym routine long enough to see results. It really helps the confidence kick in. Obviously, this applies to sports and other hobbies, but the difference is that with the gym, your hard work is always with you and noticed by others. The psychological and physical benefits are amazing. Story 32. Can you give us details about what the cause is? I'm going to guess love. If that's the case, then I recommend finding solace with friends and fun. Avoid drugs and other things like that. Sure, they help short-term but won't fix anything. Talking to people, a professional counselor maybe, was very helpful for me even though it was decades later. No guarantees you'll find someone to fill that hole, but staying positive and lighthearted will give you a good chance. If it is lost love, then I highly recommend finding a way to reopen communications with them if that's possible. Not let's get back together, but just because things didn't work out doesn't mean we need to be complete strangers.